Jacob give his blessing to Joseph's 2 sons. Now, Joseph now had been 17 years away from Israel, his father. And now Joseph is about 32 years old, and he is married to one of Pharaoh's daughters. And they have 2 children. And now Jacob is going to bless them. All right, the first 5 verses.
And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. I think we need volume on here. Thank you. And it came to pass after these things that one told Joseph, behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a multitude of people, and I will give this land to thy seeds after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, behold, before I came unto thee into Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. They shall be mine.
All right, now, I want to look at something here. Israel, now it's Jacob, was sick and somewhat blind. But he called Joseph and his son, they went unto him. And Jacob said, behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up in the bed. In other words, it had to be a struggle for him to get up. He was that sick. And then verse 3 says, and Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty. This is the 17th time that the word God Almighty has been used in the book of Genesis, which is El Shaddai. All-knowing, all-powerful God, a God that is more than enough. He said, this God have appeared unto me. He did it in Luz. He did it when I was in Canaan. And he said to him in verse 4, make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make thee a multitude of people. Now, in verse 5, he said, your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which was born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto the Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. Now, Reuben and Simeon were the son of Leah, but they still was Jacob's children and a part of the inheritance. And so he said, just like Reuben and Simeon, they are my children. So what you see Jacob doing now is not only claiming the children of Israel, he's claiming now that he's going to have children in Egypt also. Because God promised them, Abraham, he was going to make him a father of what?
Many nations.
Many nations. And so Jacob is making that claim now. In verse 5, he said, and now the 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which was born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee in Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. All right, someone else the next, and the name, Ephraim name what meant is, okay, Ephraim name means fruitful. And Manasseh name is one that forgets. One that forgets. So you got a person that is fruitful, Manasseh, and Ephraim is one that forgets. And you'll see how those names play a role. All right, who want to read the next
And
5?
thy issue which thou begettest after them shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of the brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way when yet there was but a little way to come unto Ephrath. And I buried her there in the way of Ephrath, the same is Bethlehem. And Israel beheld Joseph's son and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons whom God hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them.
All right. So he kissed them and embraced them. Now, we found that in verse 5, Jacob claimed them. He claimed them. And after claiming them, he reminded Joseph of Rachel, because Rachel was special to him. He was the one that he loved so much. And he reminded him of her because he wanted to be buried with her. And he reminded him about Rachel. Then Joseph brought his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, to Jacob. And Jacob said, Who are they? Now here Jacob is blind and somewhat, and could not see as well as he wanted to. So Joseph brought them to him, and he wanted Israel to bless them. So we're going to see what Israel do, and we're going to see how things work. All right, verse 11 through verse 15.
And Israel said unto Joseph, I had not thought to see thy face, and lo, God hath shown me also thy seed. And
Now hold it
Joseph,
just right there. Watch the expectation of God. He said, I would never expect to see you again. But now I'm not only seeing you, but God has shown me your seeds.
and Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim and in his right hand toward Israel, left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel in his right hand, and brought them near unto him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn.
All right, now you see something happened that Jacob had trickery done that God willed, but he didn't wait on God, and it cost him 20 years away from his parent. Now when Manasseh and Ephraim came in, and Joseph had bowed himself to pay reference to his father, and he wanted his father to bless his son. So Jacob, now, he took Jacob's hand and took his right hand and put it on his oldest son. He take his left hand and put it on his younger son. But Jacob crossed his hand over and puts his right hand on Ephraim, which is the youngest, and on Manasseh, which is the oldest. And Joseph said, no, you made a mistake. Now here's Jacob blind. Jacob said, I didn't make any mistake. Now, the younger is gone, the older is going to have to serve the younger. Just like Esau missed his blessing because he was, from the birth, God had said that Jacob would be the one that he would have to serve. Even though Jacob, after he got, when he went away and came back, he tried to make Esau number one. But Esau did not want it. Esau was rich just like the others. Yes?
Okay, so Joseph was right. Didn't he make a mistake? He crossed them back. Joseph put his hands the right way the first time.
Right, but
He
Joseph wasn't right. Joseph thought he was right because his daddy was blind. So he thought that his daddy was making a mistake when he switched his hand back over.
So the right hand was on the younger son?
The right hand, he twisted his hand. He put his hand on his right hand over on the younger son, and his left hand on the older son.
Is that the way he blessed him?
That's the way he did that intentionally. Joseph had put his hand on the older son. The right hand was the hand for the blessing. Joseph put his right hand on the older son, and his left hand on the younger one. But Jacob crossed his hand over, and Joseph thought he had made a mistake.
That's what I'm asking. It seemed like
Okay. Jacob first put his hand on his younger son. That's what he did. That's what he wanted to do first, to bless the younger son first, and give the younger son the blessing, the first son blessing. He did it that way. Joseph, his son, did not want him to do it like that, so he take it and reversed it, and wanted his older son to be blessed with the older son blessing. But Jacob refused and no, this is what I'm gonna do. So he put his hand back the way he had it at first. Keep reading.
okay. I understand what you're saying, but I thought the older son's supposed to get the blessing.
That was in man's ancient time. The older son got the blessing,
Yeah.
but Israel saw that the younger son was going to be fruitful, and the older son was the son that his name meant forgetful. But he was going to be blessed, but he forget a lot of things. All right? So it's just like Jacob. See, this is how God is doing it. This is what God is doing. All right? The next 5 verse.
Well, he didn't read 15.
Oh, you go ahead.
And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my father Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God who fed me all my life long unto this day.
Now think about what Jacob said. God that fed me until this day. Jacob was 100 and something years old, 140 something years old. The God that fed me unto this day. This is what he was telling Joseph. God have made a way for me up until now. All right, 16 through 20.
The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand, to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, No, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son. I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
A multitude of nations. And you'll find that Ephraim is talked about all the way through the Old Testament. Manasseh was talked about too. And a generation came out of him. But God made it where that Ephraim would be the greatest among the two. And matter of fact, Ephraim's children, just like, well, wait till we get to that. You'll see what's going to happen and what he did. And so Jacob, actually what Jacob should have did, he should have, if he was going about tradition, he should have made Reuben the blessed of all the family because he was the head of it. But he was not the son that Jacob wanted. He wanted his first son to be by Rachel. But he had to wait 7, she was married to him, but he had to work 7 other years. And the concubine, remember, because they hated her, they hated what's her name? His wife? No. Let me go back and get her name right here. Because they hated Leah. Leah, because Rachel despised her, God opened up her womb. And she had 4 sons. And Rachel didn't have 1. And so we're going to see what happened in chapter 49. But in here, we see that Jacob tell Joseph, no, he's going to be blessed, but the older one have to serve the younger. And sometimes that happens in the families now. That the younger sons, some of the one that is under you, they may be progressing much more and become the head of the family. Yes.
Like up there earlier where Joseph was telling him that God has been feeding me. He said, you seeing it natural, so, but God is feeding me to
Well, Jacob was telling that, what Jacob was telling Joseph, that even though you think I'm blind, God have been dealing with me and telling me what to do.
Yeah, so he's telling him that God is telling me to bless the younger one.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
All right, who want to finish?
Okay, and he blessed them that day, saying, in thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, behold, I die, but God shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers.
Moreover,
Moreover, I have given to thee 1 portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow.
now, notice what, this is what before I got to, I don't want to go through it until we get there. He said to Joseph, which was next to the baby son, Reuben was the oldest son. And Jacob says, I'm giving you the elder son portion. I'm giving it to you, not to Reuben. Reuben was the one that was supposed to get it, but he didn't get it. 49th chapter 49, I'm going to explain to you, and you're going to see why he didn't get it. Why he didn't get it. Now, another thing I would like to presuppose to you, there's nowhere we see that Joseph spoke about him becoming number 1, as his brother was taken down, but Joseph was the 11th child, and he is now getting the portion of the number 1 child. And Joseph is not arguing about that. But he did argue about his father giving his younger son, the older son, blessing. Isn't it strange that when it comes to us receiving the lounge portion, we don't see it? All right, okay, I'm sorry. we see it differently then when it's us. But when it's somebody else, then we want to argue about it. All right, chapter 40, and any other question in chapter 48? Chapter 49, first 5 verses, you want to read them. Jacob's given a blessing to all his sons. All of his sons. Starting with Reuben. Let's go.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye, sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their inhabitation.
All right, Reuben was the oldest. He said to him, your name, his name meant affliction, or behold a son. And Jacob told him that his shortcoming is that he was weak as water. Unstable as water. That's weak as water. You can be poured out and used by anybody. Unstable as water. And he would not excel. He laid with Jacob's concubine, his father's bed. He with one of Jacob's concubines. And Jacob said, you will not be blessed. And he even told him, look how he said it here, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of the strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellence of power, but unstable as water. You know, water flows, dries, go in, whatever, unstable as water. And then he said Simeon. And Simeon means joined. And so, when he looked at Simeon, remember what Simeon did? Let's read it. Well, you read it. No, she did read to that. Okay, Simeon was with Levi. And do you remember when Dana, their sister, was raped? They went in to the Canaanites, and they said to them, if you want to marry our sister, you got to be circumcised. So they circumcised all the men in the village. And on the third day, I think, when the men were sore and hurting, they came in and killed them all. And Jacob had to move out of the land. So he said, Simeon, your name is one thing, but what you all did was absolutely ungodly. And so your Simeon's name, and what did his name I said meant? Heard. John. The next guy's name is Heard. All right, then, and who want to read the next verse, 6 through 10?
O my soul, come now, thou. Uh-oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's right. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly, mine honor. Be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they digged down a wall. Cursed be their anger, for it was...
Okay, so in order to do that, he was talking to Simeon, remember, Heard, and Levi. Levi is Heard. She asked God for another man. So Levi and Simeon, now these are all the children of Leah. She has 4. These are all her sons. But they're Jacob's son, but they're Leah. And Leah was the one that that Laban gave unto Rachel. All right?
Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel.
So they were scattered in Israel. And when the tribes was Levi, the tribe of Levi, and the tribe of Simeon, they were divided. Matter of fact, the Levites did not get an inheritance. And Simeon was divided, and we're going to find that they was fighting against Israel, some of the tribes of Israel. So it was brothers fighting brothers, simply because the device that they did, that was a cold thing. All right, go ahead and read.
Verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
All right, Judah what? Thou art at whom?
Thy brethren shall praise.
Uh-huh.
Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He swooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as an old lion who shall rouse him up. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
All right, and everybody knows Judah means praise God. So he comes to Judah, and there's 2 people we're going to find and that he talks more about. He said that the rod is the governor. And remember in Isaiah, he said the government should be up on his shoulder? Okay, Judah was the administrator when he said of the brothers. He was the one that the receptacle was on him until Shiloh comes. Shiloh was Jesus. And so Judah was the governor. Remember that Judah is the one that took responsibility. He told Israel, said, let me please come with me. I will be, let me take your younger brother back. Let me take back Benjamin, and I promise you that I'll bring him back. And he was the one that was talking for the forerunner. He was the one that stood up for the children and said, I'll stay here with Joseph, and you all go back. So he was the one, he was the scepter, he was the rod, he was the leader. Even though he had his faults, but still, God blessed him. And what you have to understand, there's not a one of us in here that don't have some faults. And in the midst of our faults, God still blessed us. Because if God had to get rid of all your faults before we be, none of us in here would be blessed. None of us in here would be blessed. And so Judah then was the one that he talked more about and than any other, except one other person, and we'll see that, about what he wanted Judah to do and how Judah, the lawgiver, would come out of him. Out of the tribe of Judah, that's where Jesus came, until Shiloh come. Now, then, because Rachel, we look at go ahead and read verse 11.
Binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat until the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of the grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white as milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
All right, now, verse 11. Binding his foal, still talking about Judah, in the vine, and his ass coats unto the choice vine. He washes his garment in wine, his clothes in the blood of grapes. So he was talking about forecoming of Jesus. And his eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk. Now, Zebulun shall dwell. This was the next one, talking to Zebulun. He said, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the seas. So when we look at Zebulun, this was the child that Rachel, this was from Bilhah, Rachel's maid. So when Rachel could not bring forth, Rachel went to her maid, her concubine, Bilhah, and Bilhah brought forth 2 sons for her. And the first one was Zebulun. He shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ship, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Now, what did Bilhah, what's his name? His name was what? Zebulun. And what does Zebulun mean? Come on, y'all. He dwelled at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for a haven of ships. He worked as a cook on the ships. The ships. He served the ships. All right? Now, then, if you look at, did we get to Dan? Issachar is as strong as crouching down between 2 what? Burdens. And he saw the wretch was good, and that the land it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. So when you look at Zebulun, and I think I put their name down here somewhere, Zebulun. No, Dan is the judge. It's what? Dwelling. He became a prince of cities, actually a prince of cities. And so when you look at Jacob's son, God gave Jacob a total atmosphere of business people that could run the world, the whole world, because they was cook. We're gonna see there was a cook, there's a business person, there's a praise person, there's a crook. Levi and Simeon, they will get you if they needed to get you. And remember, the tribe, the priesthood came out of Levi. And Levi was one of the ones that helped Simeon kill those people. Okay, y'all looking at me like I'm strange. But that's what he did. So, then you find then, let's keep reading. Who was it? We got to verse 20? Gad was a trooper. 16. Dan shall judge his people. You see, Dan is the judge. As one of the tribe of Israel, Dan shall be like a serpent by the way, and an adder in the pass that biteth the horse heel, so that his rider shall fall backward. So as a judge, he was saying, Dan will lie in wait for you, and he already know what he was going to do to you before he got through hearing it. Before he got through, he was a judge. So actually, he must have could judge people well because he didn't wait for the verdict. I've waited in my salvation, O God. Then Gad of what? Trooper. Shall overcome him, but he shall overcome what? At last. So he's going to have some problems. That's what Jacob said. You're going to have some problems, but you're going to overcome. How many times you hear people testify where God brought them from? They got into a lot of trouble. They went to prison, went to jail. They hurt people. But then in the end, now they are helping people. This is what he said about Gad. Out of Asher, his bread shall be what? Fat. He's the baker. And he shall yield royal dainties. Good food. Good food. Naphtali is a hind at loose and given good words. Now, Naphtali name meant what? Wrestle. Wrestle. You wanted a good fight? Mess with Naphtali. You had a fight. The archer have sorely what? Grieved him and shot at him and what? Hated him. But his bow abhorred in strength, and the arms of his hand was made what? Strong by the hand. He mightily, God of Jacob, from what? Thence is the what? Shepherd, the stone of Israel. Even by God of even by God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, El Shaddai again, who shall bless thee with blessings of heaven above, and blessings of what? The deep that lies under, blessings of the what? Beast, and of what? The womb. So you're going to be able to conquer. Conquer. Now, who's going to read the last part? Verse 26.
26, yeah. The blessings of the Father have prevailed above the blessings of my progenitors, unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren.
Joseph, because you were separated from your brother, the crown is going to be on your head. Uh-huh.
Benjamin shall
What
raven.
do Joseph's name mean? Somebody holler it out.
Joseph, friendly.
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 Uh-huh.
Benjamin shall raven as a wolf. And the
Now, Benjamin shall raven as a what?
wolf.
In what?
In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
That means that he's going to get the stuff early. Yeah, he's going to go out and catch it early, and then he'll divide it. He'll divide it. Benjamin. Now, who do Benjamin remind you of then? Jacob's brother, Esau. Esau was a hunter. You see how God correlating this? Here it is. And Jesus said something that you ought to remember as we come in to get ready to get into chapter 50. Joseph was next to the last that Jacob had. And Joseph gets the first blessing. Looked like to me, I read in Matthew that the last should be first and the first should be last. Looked like I read that. So it doesn't matter what sequential order you were born in. God can bless you any way he wants to. Any way he wants to. All right. Benjamin shall raven as a weight of the wolf. in the morning, and he shall devour the what? Prey. And at night he shall what? Divide the spoil. And all of these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is it that their father spake unto them, and blessed them, every one according to his blessing he blessed. Now watch this. When you read Revelation, and it tell you that he saw 12 tribes, 2 of the names are missing. There's not a tribe of Joseph, because Joseph's son, Manasseh, or it was Ephraim, that fell in that position. Then there was not a tribe of Dan, I think, because Dan was a judge. So they was replaced in the 12 tribes when you go to Revelation. But they all were son of Jacob. And so with God, there is no alphabetical order. God may bless one generation and skip a generation and bless another one. It may be Manasseh. Go to 12th chapter of, and you'll see. Let's go to 12th. We got time to do it.
What was the other tribe that was missing in Revelation?
Okay, let's go over here and we'll see it. Revelation, I believe, chapter 7 or chapter 12, where it said that I saw the 12 tribes, 144,000. I believe it's 7th chapter of Revelation.
Okay, 7th chapter. Okay. You want to call the tribe name?
Yes, call the tribe's name.
All right. And I heard the number of them which were sealed.
That's verse 4.
And there were sealed 144,000 in all the tribes of the children of Israel. All the tribes of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad. So Gad was a replacement for
No, Gad was there. It was Dan wasn't.
sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher. Asher was
Yeah.
sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh.
See, Manasseh came in. Manasseh was one of Joseph's sons.
sealed
Manasseh came in. All right.
Of the tribe of Simeon was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph was sealed 12,000.
Okay, it's going to be another missing. That was
Of the
Dan.
tribe of Benjamin was sealed 12,000.
So Dan and Manasseh was the one. Manasseh and Ephraim was not there, and Joseph was there.
His grandchildren.
His grandchildren were there. So they took the place.
Ephraim is not there.
No, Manasseh is there.
Manasseh took the place of not Joseph.
Dan. Dan. No, Judah's there.
Dan's there too. No,
Dan is not there. The judge was not there.
place of Dan.
Manasseh took the place of Dan. And it's have to be another one because Joseph took the place of one of them.
No, Joseph
Why
was.
was Joseph is a
Joseph
son
was
though.
son.
Oh, yeah, right. Joseph's son. All right.
Reuben,
Reuben was there.
Reuben's a son. Naphtali's a son.
Reuben,
Only one, he took the place of Dan.
Asher.
Asher is here.
Asher's a son.
In verse 6, it said, of the tribe of Asher was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh was sealed 12,000.
Grandson.
Yeah,
be Ephraim and Dan, right?
yeah, but who's the other one was left out?
Who? Yeah, we got to figure out
There's
one of
11
the.
of them here.
No, it's 12.
So there was no, not
It's 12.
Manasseh is the grandson, right?
No, Manasseh's grandson
Right.
and Ephraim is the grandson. But there's not a tribe of Ephraim, is it? Ephraim is not there.
And Dan is not here.
So Dan was left out.
I know, so is Manasseh.
Dan,
But Ephraim, so what they're saying, Pastor, is there's 11 sons and one grandson.
right. And Dan is the son that was left out. He was judge. All right, let's go to chapter 50.
Wait. 29 and 30. We're not done. Got to go to 33.
All right,
29.
29, 33.
No, we stopped at verse 29.
And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people, Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Malchabeth, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. They buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost and was gathered unto his people.
Wasn't that a way to die? You give all your children the instruction and then put your feet back in the bed and just lay down and die. Lay down and died. All right, chapter 50. Jacob comforted his brothers. Joseph comforts his brothers. Jacob is dead. Let's look at what they did when Jacob died. First 5 verses. Who got the mic?
And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days after fulfilled for him, for so are
40 days was fulfilled.
for him. For so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 60 days. And when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spake unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die in my grave, which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan. There shalt not bury me.
Thou shalt bury him.
There shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come again.
All right. I want to steal your first mention thing there. Yes. Embalm is the first mention of embalmment. And so if you look at history, it was the Egyptian that is the author of embalming. And they must have did a tremendous job that they could keep him out of the grave for 40 days. For 40 days through the embalming. And they still do that now for peoples now. They embalm them. So the Egyptian is first mention of embalming. So Joseph go and plead to Pharaohs. So my father asked me, could he be buried in Canaan? And if you allow me to go, I'll go and I'll come again. Verse 6 through 15.
And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he has made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph.
Can you imagine all the elders of the land of Egypt? All the elders of the land of Egypt. And what? All the what?
And all the house of Joseph, and his brethren, and his father's house. Only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds, they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan. And there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan. And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite before Mamre. And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren, and all that went up with him to bury his father after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brethren saw...
Okay, right there. Now, they said that the largest funeral in the United States of America, who can tell me who was that? Largest funeral in the United States of America. Who? No. Elvis Presley. They say Elvis Presley was the largest funeral they had in the United States.
More than Kennedy?